A group of people who I didn't know well believed in me and said, you can do this by hiring me. They didn't have to say the words, they hired me.
This is a journey.
Let me take you on a journey.
Welcome to Her Journey, presented by Kazukian Media Group.
We believe Her Journey will encourage young women and help them see that life is a journey.
You have to continue to walk in your purpose.
We cannot control how other people respond to us.
As long as you have breath in your body, story does not end. Every day that God grants you, you have an opportunity to rewrite your story.
We believe Her Journey will encourage young women and help them see that life is a journey. Watch Her Journey, hosted by me, Joy Doss, brought to you by the Kazukian Media Group and proudly sponsored by Nike, Black Community Commitment.
And welcome back to Her Journey. I'm your host, Joy Doss, and I will be in conversation with some of the most phenomenal women in the city of Memphis and the most successful women in the city of Memphis. It is time for the ladies to step in the spotlight. And this, Her Journey, is our contribution to the solution. We are showing young women and girls what and who they can be, and we're showing them how many ways you can be successful. There's so many ways to skin this cat. There's so many looks and faces to success, and we want them to see as many of them as possible. So join me as we show the ladies a little bit of love. Today's Woman of the Hour is Phenomenal Woman of the Hour. Let me correct that. Is Roshun Austin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
No problem, because you are, like I said, phenomenal woman. Roshun is working in the development space. She is in nonprofit space. She is the president and CEO of the Works CDC, Community Development Corporation. And she just had a really big win. She's had a lot of wins, but she's had a really big win, which is breaking ground on the Northside High School space, just repurposing and redeveloping that space into a mixed use land.
Yes,
deal.
a huge school building. We're building a combination of affordable housing and office space and retail space for users in the Klondike neighborhood and those abroad across Memphis.
And I'm going to say real quick why it's fantastic, because, you know, I'm not going to break out a song, but it's a man's world. Development is a man's world, but Roshun said not today.
Not today. Not for the last 28 years. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's most tables I sit at are men, men, mostly white men.
Yeah.
And me.
Yeah, but you're getting it done.
Yeah.
Getting it. So what prepared you for this, or did anything, or just like learning on the fly as you go?
So I learned the specific industry kind of as I did it. But what prepared me for this is this belief that I could do it. You know, so I, was around spaces. There was nothing about my background that suggested I should be in this space. Even my schooling, I was in anthropology. That doesn't suggest development to anyone. And I was in biochemistry before that. Again, not physical development of spaces.
But it does suggest very smart.
It suggests smart.
You're a very smart
But
person.
sometimes that smart for women doesn't translate into being spaces where we've been excluded.
Sure, absolutely.
And so I probably early on had a lot of tenacity, even though I was pretty shy. I still pushed open doors because I had a lot of no's, and I realized that a no never, I always say it now, a no ain't never killed nobody. And so I just got through the no's and I found ways to get a yes. And it's still not true that I get yeses every day. I just don't give up. So I had a lot of push.
Let's pull that a little bit. How do you push past the no? Without getting too deflated, feeling deflated, defeated, discouraged?
Oh, well, I've been hearing no's my entire life. And so, like, what has that ever meant for me? No, I shouldn't be out of my neighborhood. No, I shouldn't go to this high school. No, I shouldn't go to college. And so it was nothing new to me. It's not like I've heard yeses and then all of a sudden I hear my first no and I'm just going home and depressed. No, it's just every day.
Yeah.
And so I get past it with a smile typically. Sometimes there's some anger involved and some stilettos and some stepping on toes, but mostly I just push to yes. And I really get that. I didn't come up with that as a little girl. My parents, lived the life, and their parents lived the life of no's. And so getting to the yes was essential to our mere survival.
Sure.
And so I'm a survivor, and so I have to push to yeses.
So you shared something interesting on Facebook the other day. You said, I never this girl was taking the bus places. I never thought I would. Talk about that post. Just share a little bit of that, but talk about that post, because I thought that was really interesting and should be heard by any of the young women watching.
Yeah, so, and out of all of the people in our development team, I'm usually not the one that cries, but every time I think about that backstory, I'm now at the helm of a $78 million development in my city.
Work.
In a neighborhood next door to where I grew up. And so when I started talking about it, it brought me to tears, because all the stats say that I shouldn't be here. I grew up in high poverty, in a neighborhood high in crime, high in poverty. My household was way below the poverty level. And so all those stats suggest where I live, like we hear the stats now, where kids live dictate their future. Well, those things did not dictate this future that I'm living now. And so I don't just think individually about myself, but what about every other little girl, every other young woman, every other middle-aged woman or older woman that experienced those same stats, the poverty. I'm a survivor of sexual assault. I lived in poverty the first half of my life. I'm in rooms where there are just men. I'm working in neighborhoods that have a no attached to them. And I spent years of my life making $3.25, riding past the building I'm now responsible for developing and investing $78 million in it, on a bus, on a public transportation. I bought my first car, $400. And that's the first time I was able to drive a car, learn how to drive on the car that I bought.
That's in 90s money, by the way.
Yeah, it was in the 90s, but I had a 1980 car. A stick shift with a dent in the door, but it was a way to get around outside of being on a bus. And so I spent my life on a bus.
So when did you know you were going to be okay? Was there like a aha moment when you said, okay, I'm going to be all right?
Well, I probably always felt okay. It's like children often who live in poverty, if they have a strong network, a village, they don't know that they're not okay, that there is something different in the world. Now, I stepped outside of that and went to a very elite, expensive college. And then I saw another side of the world I had never seen before. But I had to say, well, I still survived it. I made it here. And so certainly I'm more okay than a kid that grew up on Park Avenue, or a kid that went to boarding school from the 6th through the 12th grade. I came out of a public system on a bus, high poverty family, scraping together enough money to get on that bus. I needed 60 cents to get to school. And that was the most difficult thing to do each week for me and my sisters, to have $1.20 each day to get to our high school, our chosen high school. Of course, we could have gone to the assigned high school, but that was a lot of money for us. And people don't think in terms like that. They're like a few dollars a week and you all can scrape it together. Well, we had a household that made less than $20,000 with 5 children. And so, yeah, that was a lot.
Oh, yes.
But I think I just kind of always knew I was okay. Because I had this network, my mother, my father, my church family, and even my neighborhood, even those who were doing bad things, they were protective of us. We were our own village.
So I'm going to ask you this before we go to break. When did you know your journey as a Black woman was going to be a different journey than somebody else's? And you can think about that while we go to the break, and then we'll come right back and answer that question. You're watching Her Journey, presented by Kadzukian Media Group, and we'll be right back after the break.